December 2022, late night, screens glow across the world as Kanye West sits in front of a microphone and says something that, according to many viewers, changes everything. Within minutes, clips start circulating. Within hours, brands begin to distance themselves. Within days, what some are calling a full-scale industry shutdown is underway. Now rewind the tape. Before the headlines, before the outrage, before the contracts started disappearing, there was a man who built an empire from nothing, a man who once stood on stages collecting Grammys, reshaping fashion, and redefining music. Let that sink in. The same industry that once crowned him is now, according to fans, turning its back all at once. Here's what nobody is telling you. On October 25th, 2022, Adidas officially terminated its partnership with Kanye West, citing controversial statements. According to financial reports, that deal was worth billions, gone overnight. Think about the timeline. Within a 72-hour window, multiple companies followed suit. Social media is going crazy. Fans are shocked. People are divided. But this isn't just about comments. According to sources close to the situation, there were already tensions building behind the scenes. Contract disputes, creative control battles, and power struggles that had been simmering for years. And now the biggest question remains. Was this truly about what Kanye said? Or was this the moment the industry had been waiting for to finally cut ties? To understand how everything reached this boiling point, you have to rewind the tape back to Chicago in the late 1990s, where a young Kanye West was quietly building a reputation, not as a rapper, but as a producer. According to early studio accounts and industry interviews, Kanye was crafting beats for local artists while studying the sounds that would later define an era. By 2001, he had secured placements on Jay-Z's critically acclaimed album, The Blueprint, a moment that many producers dream of but few achieve. Let that sink in. He was already shaping the sound of mainstream hip-hop, yet executives allegedly still didn't see him as a viable artist. Sources from that time suggest labels viewed him as too different, too unconventional in both sound and personality. But here's what nobody is telling you. Those same traits would later become his greatest weapon. By February 10th, 2004, Kanye released The College Dropout under Rockefeller Records, and the entire narrative shifted overnight. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, eventually going multi-platinum. According to chart data and sales reports, it wasn't just successful, it was disruptive. Kanye wasn't rapping about the streets in the traditional sense. He was talking about insecurity, faith, family, and failure. Fans connected deeply. Social media didn't dominate the conversation back then, but forums and early internet spaces were already buzzing. Think about the timeline. Within a year, Kanye went from being doubted in boardrooms to becoming one of the most talked about artists in the country. But behind the music, there were early signs of tension. According to archived interviews and footage, Kanye was never afraid to challenge authority. Whether it was award show speeches or public statements, he consistently pushed against industry norms. Some fans admired it, others saw it as controversial. Emotions ran high even back then. In 2005, during a live televised event for Hurricane Katrina relief, Kanye made a statement about government response that sparked national debate. Nothing is confirmed about long-term consequences from that moment, but many observers believe it marked one of the first times the industry began viewing him as unpredictable. As the years progressed, the stakes only got bigger. By September 11th, 2007, Kanye released Graduation, famously going head-to-head with 50 Cent, who dropped Curtis the same day. According to sales data, Kanye outsold 50 Cent in the first week, a moment many consider symbolic. The shift from traditional gangsta rap dominance to a more experimental, genre-blending future. Fans are shocked even looking back at how pivotal that moment was. It wasn't just about numbers, it was about control. Kanye was proving that creativity could win over convention, but success came with pressure. In November 2007, tragedy struck when Kanye's mother, Donda West, passed away following surgical complications. According to public reports and family statements, her death deeply affected him. This is where the human story becomes impossible to ignore. A mother who believed in her son before the world did. Gone at the height of his rise. In later interviews, Kanye reportedly expressed how that loss changed his perspective on everything. Let that sink in. Behind the headlines, behind the accolades, there was grief that the public could never fully measure. By 2010, Kanye returned with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, recorded in Hawaii, bringing together some of the biggest names in music. According to critics and industry analysts, the album is often listed among the greatest of all time. But here's where the power dynamics start becoming clearer. Kanye wasn't just an artist anymore. He was a brand, a business, a force that labels, corporations, and partners had to navigate carefully. Sources close to the industry say that with that level of influence comes both admiration and resistance. Then came fashion. Around 2015, Kanye's partnership with Adidas for the Yeezy brand changed the game entirely. According to financial estimates and corporate reports, Yeezy generated billions in revenue over the years. Think about the timeline again. A producer once doubted by executives had now become a billionaire entrepreneur, sitting at the intersection of music, fashion, and culture. But with that kind of power, conflicts are almost inevitable. Allegedly, there were ongoing disagreements over ownership, creative direction, and long-term control of the brand. Nothing is confirmed in full detail, but multiple reports suggest tensions were building quietly behind closed doors. And while the public saw success, social media began documenting a different side. Tweets, interviews, and public appearances that sparked debate. Fans are divided. Some say he was speaking truths others were afraid to say. Others believe he was crossing lines that would have consequences. Here's what nobody is telling you. The industry doesn't just react to moments, it remembers patterns. And as Kanye continued to challenge systems, question authority, and operate on his own terms, many believe the foundation for what's happening now was already being laid years in advance. The moment everything shifted didn't happen quietly. It unfolded in real time, across screens, timelines, and boardrooms. Think about the timeline. October 2022, multiple interviews begin circulating featuring Kanye West, where he makes statements that, according to widespread reports, sparked immediate backlash. Within minutes, clips were trending on Twitter and Instagram. Social media is going crazy. Fans are shocked. People are divided. Some defended him, saying context was missing. Others called for immediate consequences. But here's what nobody is telling you. The reaction online was only the first layer. Behind the scenes, according to sources close to the situation, emergency meetings were allegedly already being scheduled. Now follow the paperwork. On October 25th, 2022, Adidas released an official statement announcing the termination of its partnership with Kanye West. According to that statement, the company cited his recent remarks as the reason for the split. Let that sink in. This wasn't just a collaboration ending. This was a multi-billion-dollar relationship being cut almost instantly. Financial analysts later reported that Adidas expected a significant revenue hit as a result. But from a legal standpoint, this wasn't as simple as just walking away. Contracts of that scale often include morality clauses, legal provisions that allow a company to terminate an agreement if one party engages in behavior that could harm the brand's reputation. In simple terms, if a partner's actions create public controversy, the company may have grounds to exit the deal. However, the exact wording of Kanye's contract has not been fully disclosed, and nothing is confirmed about the internal negotiations that led to that final decision. Within hours of that announcement, other dominoes began to fall. According to public reports, Balenciaga also cut ties. Talent agency relationships were reportedly severed. Retailers began removing Yeezy products from shelves. Think about the speed. This wasn't a slow decline, it was a coordinated collapse, at least from the outside looking in. Some observers believe it was purely reactive. Others, including voices across social media, suggest it may have been a long anticipated breaking point. Nothing is confirmed, but the pattern is impossible to ignore. Here's where the evidence layering becomes critical. Around the same time, archived interviews and past statements from Kanye began resurfacing online. Clips from previous years, tweets that had been deleted, and controversial moments were compiled into viral threads. According to digital analysts, this created what's known as a context cascade, where past behavior is re-examined to support present reactions. Let that sink in. The narrative wasn't just about one moment, it became about an entire history being replayed in real time. Fans who once supported him began questioning everything. Others doubled down in his defense. Emotions ran high. Then came the financial shockwaves. According to estimates from major outlets, Kanye's net worth reportedly dropped significantly following the Adidas split. Numbers vary depending on the source. And nothing is confirmed with exact precision, but multiple analysts suggested billions in projected value were tied directly to that partnership. This is where business meets consequence. When a deal of that magnitude ends, it doesn't just affect one person, it impacts factories, employees, supply chains, and investors. Here's what nobody is telling you. This wasn't just personal, it was structural. From a legal investigative angle, Still, questions began to surface immediately. Could Kanye challenge the termination? Was there a breach of contract? According to legal experts speaking publicly at the time, such cases often depend on whether the company can prove reputational harm and whether the contract clearly defines unacceptable conduct. Prosecutors aren't involved here, but corporate legal teams operate in a similar evidence-based framework. Of course, they follow documentation, statements, and public reaction. Nothing is confirmed about any potential legal action from Kanye's side, but the possibility was widely discussed. Meanwhile, Kanye himself responded in various interviews and public appearances. According to those clips, he appeared defiant at times, suggesting that he had anticipated resistance from the industry. Some fans interpreted this as confidence, others saw it as escalation. Social media is going crazy again. Every new statement became another headline, another data point, another piece of the puzzle. Think about the timeline. Within a matter of days, a decades-long career had entered one of its most uncertain chapters. And then there's the human moment that often gets lost. Around this time, a clip began circulating, an older video of Kanye speaking about ownership, about wanting control over his work and legacy. In that video, he allegedly said, "I just want to build something that's mine." Let that sink in. Whether you agree with him or not, that statement hits differently now. Because when the contracts started disappearing, when the partnerships ended, it raised a deeper question. Was this a sudden reaction to controversy, or the inevitable outcome of a long-standing battle over power, control, and independence? What came next wasn't just business. It was personal, emotional, and deeply human in ways that headlines couldn't fully capture. As the partnerships collapsed and the statements kept circulating, the fallout began to ripple through every corner of Kanye West's life. Social media is going crazy, but behind the noise, there were real people dealing with real consequences. But think about the timeline. Within days of the Adidas termination, reports suggested employees connected to the Yeezy brand were facing uncertainty. Factories, designers, warehouse workers, people whose names never trend, were suddenly caught in the middle. Nothing is confirmed about exact job losses in every case, but analysts pointed out that large-scale partnership collapses often trigger layoffs and restructuring. Let that sink in. This wasn't just about one man losing a deal, it was about an entire ecosystem feeling the impact. Then there's the family side, the part that rarely gets full attention. Kanye has always spoken publicly about his late mother, Donda West, and how her guidance shaped him. Around this time, fans began revisiting old interviews and clips where he talked about her influence, her belief in him, on her grounding presence. One resurfaced video widely shared across Instagram showed him speaking emotionally about wanting to make her proud. Fans are shocked watching those moments again in this context, because now, with everything unraveling, people are asking how different things might have been if she were still here. That's not a confirmed claim, it's a feeling, an emotional thread running through the audience, and it hits. At the same time, the industry response continued to escalate. Major figures began speaking out, some directly, others more subtly. According to public interviews and posts, certain artists distanced themselves, while others chose silence. Silence in this industry can speak just as loudly. People are divided. Some believe distancing was necessary to protect their own brands, and others argue it showed a lack of loyalty. Here's what nobody is telling you. Hip-hop has always been built on relationships, alliances, and unspoken rules. When one figure falls out of favor, it forces everyone else to make a choice, whether publicly or privately. From a legal investigative perspective, the conversation also became more complex. While no criminal charges were involved in this situation, the language of accountability still mattered. Terms like breach of contract, morality clause, and reputational risk continued to dominate discussions. Legal analysts explained that companies often act not just on what is said, but on how the public reacts to what is said. In simple terms, perception can carry legal weight in corporate decisions. However, nothing is confirmed about any internal legal disputes beyond the public statements released by companies. Kanye himself, in various interviews, appeared to challenge the narrative, suggesting that he was being treated unfairly. According to those appearances, he allegedly framed the situation as a broader issue of control and censorship. But again, these are claims and perspectives, not confirmed facts. And then there's the fan base, the community that helped build his career from the ground up. On Twitter, threads stretched into thousands of comments. Some fans expressed heartbreak, saying they felt torn between the music they loved and the controversy surrounding it. Others stood firmly in support, arguing that the reaction was disproportionate. Emotions ran high. One viral post, reportedly from a longtime fan, read, "I grew up on his music. I don't even know how to feel right now." Let that sink in. That's the kind of emotional conflict numbers and headlines can't measure. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, sources close to the industry suggested that executives were reassessing not just Kanye, but the entire risk landscape of celebrity partnerships. Nothing is confirmed, but insiders allegedly indicated that brands were becoming more cautious, more calculated about who they align with, and how quickly they can pivot if controversy arises. This is where the power dynamics become clear. It's not just about one artist, it's about the system protecting itself. And through all of this, Kanye remained a central figure in the conversation, whether through interviews, appearances, or the sheer weight of his legacy. Some fans believe he was standing on principle. Others believe he crossed lines that couldn't be ignored. People are divided, and the truth, as it often does, sits somewhere in the middle, still unfolding. Because when you strip away the contracts, the headlines, and the opinions, what you're left with is a moment that reveals something deeper about fame, power, and consequence. A moment where success, controversy, loyalty, and loss all collide at once. And the question that lingers isn't just about what happened, but about who, in the end, really pays the price. When you zoom out from the headlines and the emotions, the situation surrounding Kanye West starts to look less like an isolated incident and more like a reflection of how the entire music and fashion industry operates under pressure. Think about the timeline. For decades, artists have pushed boundaries, challenged norms, and built careers on controversy, but the response has never been this fast, this coordinated, or this financially devastating. Let that sink in. Within days, billions in partnerships disappeared, and according to analysts, the ripple effects reached far beyond one individual. This raises a bigger question. Has the industry changed, or has the tolerance for risk simply tightened? Here's what nobody is telling you. The modern entertainment industry is no longer just about talent or influence. It's about brand safety. Corporations like Adidas are publicly traded entities, accountable not just to consumers, but to shareholders, investors, and global markets. According to financial experts, when controversy hits at a large scale, companies are forced to act quickly to protect their valuation. In simple terms, perception equals money. Alright, if public sentiment shifts, the business response follows. Nothing is confirmed about internal boardroom conversations, but patterns across multiple industries suggest that risk management now moves faster than loyalty. At the same time, this moment exposes a long-standing tension between artists and corporations. Kanye has repeatedly spoken, according to past interviews, about ownership and control, wanting to move beyond being just assigned talent to becoming a fully independent force. Think about the timeline again. From Rockefeller to Yeezy, his career has been defined by pushing for more control at every stage. Some fans believe this situation is the consequence of that push, an inevitable clash between creative independence and corporate structure. Others argue that his public statements triggered a response that any major company would have made. People are divided and nothing is confirmed beyond the visible outcomes. Then there's the cultural layer. Hip-hop has always been rooted in rebellion, in speaking freely, in challenging authority. But as the genre became a global business worth billions, those same rebellious traits began to conflict with corporate expectations. Let that sink in. The very qualities that built hip-hop into a dominant force are now, in some cases, the same qualities that create risk for brands. According to cultural commentators, this creates a paradox. Artists are encouraged to be bold and authentic, but only within limits that don't threaten business interests. When those limits are crossed, the consequences can be immediate and severe. Social media plays a critical role in all of this. Platforms like Twitter and Instagram have accelerated the speed at which narratives form and spread. According to digital analysts, a single clip can now shape global perception within hours. Think about that. In previous decades, controversies unfolded over weeks or months. Now they unfold in real time, with millions of people reacting simultaneously. This doesn't just amplify the moment, it compresses decision-making. Companies, artists, and audiences are all reacting at the same time, often without full context. Nothing is confirmed in terms of intent, but the impact of that speed is undeniable. Another layer that often goes unnoticed is precedent. Industry insiders allegedly suggest that situations like this set examples for future cases. If one high-profile figure faces immediate consequences, it signals to others what could happen under similar circumstances. This isn't confirmed as a coordinated strategy, but it's a pattern that appears across entertainment, sports, and corporate environments. Let that sink in. Every major controversy becomes a reference point, shaping how future decisions are made behind closed doors. But here's the deeper question that lingers. Is this about accountability, or is it about control? Some fans believe the response was necessary, arguing that public figures figures must face consequences for their words and actions. Others believe the scale of the reaction reveals an imbalance of power, where corporations can effectively erase partnerships overnight. Both perspectives exist at the same time. And the truth may not be as simple as choosing one side. And then there's Kanye himself, a figure who has consistently blurred the lines between artist, entrepreneur, and provocateur. According to sources close to his career, he has always operated outside traditional boundaries, often embracing controversy as part of his identity. But this moment feels different, not because controversy is new, but because the response reached a level that few, if any, have experienced before at this scale. So when you step back and look at the full picture, what you're really seeing is a collision: creativity versus control, individual expression versus corporate responsibility, speed of information versus depth of understanding. And in the middle of all that, a global audience trying to make sense of it in real time. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just one story, it's a signal, a shift, a moment that forces the entire culture to ask, where is the line now, and who really gets to decide when it's been crossed? And now we're left with the questions that nobody can fully answer. At least not yet. Rewind the tape one more time. A global icon at the top of his game, billion-dollar partnerships, cultural influence that stretched across music, fashion, and business. Then within days, contracts gone, alliances broken, and an entire industry shifting in real time. Let that sink in. So here's what it really comes down to. Was this a justified response to controversial statements? Or, as some fans believe, was this a long-building power struggle that finally reached its breaking point? Think about the timeline. Think about how fast everything happened. And most importantly, think about who actually holds the power when everything is on the line. Because here's what nobody is telling you. This situation didn't just affect Kanye West. It set a precedent for artists, for brands, for the entire culture. Nothing is confirmed about what happens next, but one thing is clear: the rules may have just changed. People are divided. Some say accountability, others say control. Some see consequences, others see something deeper happening behind the scenes. And the truth? It might be somewhere in the middle, still unfolding. So now I'm asking you directly, what do you think really happened here? Was this the industry protecting itself? Or the industry making an example out of someone who refused to play by the rules? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading everything. Let's have a real conversation. No filters, no bias, just truth. If you want more deep breakdowns like this, where we follow the paperwork, question the narrative, and expose what's really going on behind the scenes, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next story, it might be even bigger.